Hi everybody, this is Matt. Thanks for watching and welcome back. A lot of times people that know me will send me links to news stories and videos related to firearm accidents. And then they'll ask questions. Well, it doesn't matter if it happens indoors, outdoors, whatever. The main reason that I see for firearms accidents occurring in the first place is because people violate one of the basic, primary, fundamental rules of having a firearm, which is always assume that the firearm is loaded. Always assume that. Now, when I used to be a deputy sheriff, I always knew the condition of my weapon. My weapon was always hot. It was always loaded. Whenever it was in my service holster, it was loaded. When I hung up my service belt at night, it was loaded. It was loaded in the morning. It was loaded all the time. That's just the way it is from a tactical standpoint. It was always loaded. But people make mistakes. Now, maybe it's because familiarity breeds a little bit of contempt, or perhaps it's also like we get a little bit too comfortable with it. It's kind of like somebody that, let's say they brought up a really wild animal. I'll use a bear for an example. They brought up a bear from a cub, and they're like, oh, you know, he's so cute, he's so fuzzy, he's so furry, you know, he wouldn't hurt a flea. I've had him for 5 years and he's been great. Until one day the bear reverts back to its original nature, which is being a bear, and you're thinking that, you know, he's really warm and fuzzy, and the bear's in a bad mood and takes a swat at you or mauls you. Who's at fault, you or the bear? The bear was doing its nature. You shouldn't have been messing with the bear. Okay? So, you take a firearm, any firearm, like this, and if it is loaded, which you have to assume it's loaded, bad things can happen. So, in this case, this isn't loaded because there's no magazine in there and I've already cleared it. I know the condition of the weapon. Which brings me to one of my little pet peeves, which is called a press check. I'm not a big fan of it. For those of you that don't know what a press check is, it involves taking a hand, putting it on the slide of a semi-automatic pistol, pressing back, and looking into that chamber. Now, what I don't like about it is, if you see the position of my hand, even though I'm being careful, if the gun were to go bang, the position of the hand means that I'm going to get burned and I'm going to get shrapnel right in here when that thing goes boom. That's a bad deal. I want to make sure it's clear. I'm going to point it in the safe direction. I'm going to look at it, and if necessary, I'll even stick my finger down in there and make sure that there's not a cartridge in there. But I always know the condition of the weapon. It brought up another topic. One person asked me, they're like, well, you know, don't the firearms have safeties? Don't the guns have safeties? And I'm like, well, really on something like a modern polymer type of a semi-auto like this, for example, the only safety is this little guy right here. That tiny little piece is really the safety on this, because the moment it gets depressed, it can go back. However, I have seen instances where this safety gets sticky. It gets stuck and it stays unlocked, unengaged, so it can sit here and it can go at any time. That is bad. So where is the real safety? The real safety right here between your ears. Safety's in your brain. So safety should always be number one. This is the safety. It doesn't matter how many safety devices on that firearm. Another thing that'll happen is people will get their hand in front of the muzzle. I'm going to use a pair of pliers to demonstrate that one. Sometimes they'll look at a handgun and they'll cradle it like this and go, oh, okay. If this is the muzzle right here and there happens to be something in that chamber and you go click, what do you think is going to happen to your hand? Really, what are you going to, you know, what's going to happen? Bad things are going to happen. And I'm sorry, but I'm not going to trust anybody at the range when it comes to handing me a firearm and saying, oh, it's not loaded. Just ask somebody at a local gun shop how many times during their career that they've had a customer come in and hand them a weapon, whether it's a long gun or it's a handgun, and they say, oh yeah, you know, it's not loaded, but yet it was. So safety is always paramount. Rule number 1, always assume that it's loaded. But I'd also make an addition to that, always know the condition of your weapon. Number 2, never get this muzzle anywhere that you don't want serious damage to occur. So do not put your hand in front of the muzzle. Do not just point this at somebody just as a joke, going, oh, see this? Because accidents like that happen, and then the end result is tragic. So you can avoid a lot of tragedy by using a little bit of common sense. So anyway, there you go. And until next time, thanks for watching, and everybody be safe out there and have a good one.